are going to do now is we are going to work on the forbidden cupcake. And this is a cupcake shaped bath bomb that comes together in a number of parts. I'm going to show you today. I make these little skull embeds that are they're bath bomb embeds. I make the bottom of the cupcake, which I don't have a video of, but then I cover those with frosting. So you've come just in time to see the forbidden cupcake. And how are you doing? What you've been getting into? And thank you so much for visiting today. Let me go ahead and start this video. This is not the same recipe as for the actual, but I want the embeds to be a little harder and a little fizzier than the bath bombs themselves. So this is 50% citric acid, 50% baking soda, to which I've added a little bit of kaolin clay and some cream of tartar. And those things are going to help the embeds set up quickly and get really nice and hard so that, they're not breakable. Sipping coffee and making talks. I'm doing really well. We started out with some 2-point museum, and we're going to go back to that. But this hour is all about the crafting and the making. We just poured up a beautiful mountainside forest soap with an activated charcoal swirl, and now we're working on the forbidden cupcake. So it's a good day. We're starting out here with some little skull embeds. As you can see, that's the shape of the adorable little skulls that we're going to make. They're very tiny. These are basically tiny, very hard bath bombs. We're going to get right in there with our hands and make sure that all of those powders are incorporated really well and that there are no gross lumps. We want this to be very smooth and very, very fine before we add the wet ingredients, which is a bit of sulfated castor oil and polysorbate. There's no fragrance in these embeds. The fragrances will go in the cupcake bases and the cupcake frosting. So that's getting really well incorporated and well stirred. What kind of talks have you been making, Andy, while we're doing this? There's our oil blend. We want to keep the amount of oil light. We basically want this to become like kinetic sand. We don't want it to be very wet because, of course, we will want them to set up and dry pretty quickly. We're going to smoosh that all in there with our silicone spatula. And then, as always with the bath bombs, we're just going to get right in there with our hands and make sure that those wet ingredients are really, really well incorporated. Although this will need, I can already tell, this will need a bit more of the oil blend. Just stream clips that I get cut, captioned, and edited down. I try to make 3 a day. Holy crispy crap, that's a lot. That's a lot. And here I am just like, yeah, I think, once a stream I'll cut a couple of highlights and export them to YouTube. And what we're looking for is the consistency of kinetic sand so that when we smush this concoction together, it will hold the shape that I smush it into. We're getting there, but we're not quite there. So we just got to keep working it. Just got to keep working it, baby. You can tell by the way that it's sticking to the gloves, it's really, really getting there now. And we are just making sure that it's fully incorporated throughout all of our batter. Yeah, there we go. Looking good. And very shortly it will be time to get our tiny little skull mold and start squishing out a bunch of little skulls. Oh, apparently I decided that it still needed just a little bit more of the oil blend. Okay. I maybe should have stopped. I'm looking back on this. These embeds did take a little longer than usual to dry, but I attributed that to the humidity at the time. I think I could have stopped there, but it's okay. They still came out well. Oh, I appear to be much happier with that. That was a great big wad that held up well. All right, here we go. Now, these molds come in three parts. There's a bottom, an outline, and the top. The bottom gives me sort of the place to put all of the batter. And we want to kind of smush and smooth that down. And then the top portion gives us the details of the mold and sort of the actual thing that we're going to press. And since these are so small, we can just press them right in our hands. I don't use the press for these guys. And now I've got to pull that little lid out and try to get this guy out of the mold without breaking it. So pull that lid off. Oh, and there we go. You can see, well, you could for a moment. I'm trying to make sure that you can see the detail of the skull there. There we go. When I push it back a little bit, you can see his little eyes and his nose and his little teeth sticking out. And we're going to gently press the outline off. And then we tap the back portion of this embed off, and you'll be able to see that it's got a little knob on the back because you're meant to be able to press this into another thing. And it's very delicate, so I'm not going to pick it up. It's still very wet, and I could break it or smush it, so I can't pick it up and show you just yet. But we will pick up the whole tray later. And so then we just continue doing the same thing. You fill the mold, smush it, make sure it's completely full, smooth it out. Get that top piece lined up in there properly. Give it a really good hard press. And very gently pull the top off, and once again there's the detail on the skull. And we turn him over, push him out of the outline portion of the mold. And then we tap, tap, tap the back portion of the mold to gently drop the embed out. And I believe we basically do this 3 more times. The order was for a set of 3 Forbidden Cupcake bath bombs. It's always a good idea to make, especially with the embeds because they're so small. You want a batch size, a batter size that's actually workable. So you do more than just the 3. And you're not always perfect, right? Some of these will not turn out in the end. You know, and so you pick the 3 best of the 5 or 6 that you make. And then you have a tiny little petty bath bomb, you know, put it in your foot bath. Or I do. Or I make a couple more Forbidden Cupcake bath bombs, also fun. Now, while we're doing these embeds, let me describe the scent blend for this cupcake to you. So I make a coal black bath bomb cupcake bottom, and the cupcake bottom is scented with my chocolate mole blend, which is a woody, spicy, almost hot blend in chocolate extract, and it's absolutely delicious to smell, okay? And then the frosting, the top portion of the cupcake, is this really bright pink. So you've got like goth pink thing going on, and it is scented with one of the greatest rose oils I've ever smelled. It's a Sudanese black rose, and it's it's not like your typical really sweet, really floral rose. It's very earthy and dark and seductive. And together with the chocolate mole and the Sudanese black rose, this is really, really a super bath bomb. Like, I don't want to brag, but I'm going to brag. This is a great scent blend. And I actually have to give some credit to a friend of mine who sometimes comes into the stream named Weeshai Halud. She is great at sort of imagining how things will smell, and she was a great portion of the inspiration for the scent blend. The chocolate mole was totally her idea, and we topped that off with that floral rose, and it's just a spectacular bath bomb. It does have a lot of moving parts. It's kind of a pain in the butt to make. I should probably increase the price on it, but for now, it's it's pretty well priced. It's a pretty good value. And here we go. Yet another little skull popping out of the mold. Oop! There's his little eyes. Pushing him out. And then tap, tap, tap. He was a little stubborn. He didn't want to come out. He wanted to stay. There we go. We finally got him. And I decided that that's probably enough of those and that the batter probably won't make a full one. So there we go. We've got 5 little embeds. You can see the backs of them here. That little back portion is what's going to allow me to stick this into the frosting in a way that it will actually stay embedded. That's why we call them embeds. And they're still so delicate that I don't pick them up and show the other side. So hopefully you enjoyed watching those. Now, for whatever reason, I think I maybe got really busy because there were a couple of orders going at once. I did not. If I filmed making the bottom of these bath bombs, I couldn't find it this morning. So I don't have the CUPCAKE bath bomb bottoms, but I do have all of the bits. So what we have there is those are also a big fan of mole, the scent, and isn't it wonderful? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh. I think you and Bisqueen would really like these guys. If you're into bath bombs and you'd like to try them out, I would love to know what you think. So you can see here, I've chosen my 3 best skull embeds over there in the back corner. I've got my coal black chocolate mole cupcake bottoms. And I've got another bright red set of embeds here. These you won't actually be able to see, but they will be in the center of the cupcake, and they will give the bath sort of a blood red fizz from the center. Like the cupcake is bleeding almost. And they're going to go right in the center of the top of these cupcake bath bombs. They're going to help the frosting stick on top. So let's go ahead and keep that rolling. They're showing off each portion of the embeds. The little skulls there, you can see they turned out really nicely once they dried. And I should mention, I've already got the frosting in the piping bag here. This will be very foamy as opposed to fizzy, because it's got a plant-derived ingredient in it called cocoa imidapropyl betaine. And we mix that with baking soda, and it becomes like buttercream frosting. But then, because we also add some kaolin clay and cream of tartar in that as well, it hardens up just like the embeds in the bath bombs relatively quickly. And then when you put it in your bathtub with warm water, it creates more of a foaming, milky kind of thing going along with the fizzy thing in the cupcake bottom. So we've got that in a piping bag with just a plain tip. And we've got actual sprinkles because they will melt. And we've got eco glitter. I want to take a moment to just talk about that glitter for a moment. That is eco glitter. It is not plastic. It is biodegradable. It will melt in your tub. Wherever possible, I choose ingredients that are sustainable, biodegradable, or packaging that's sustainable, recyclable, and biodegradable. I'm really, really committed to that as much as possible. So these are all the parts that we need to make the forbidden cupcake. Like I said, there are a lot of moving parts. I'm going to give a little blast of frosting to the center there. That will kind of meld with the bottom of the cupcake. And this embed kind of helps that because I smush it down on there. And that's going to be like sort of the anchor for the rest of the cupcake frosting. Now, this stuff kind of sets up really quickly, so I do have a limited amount of time in which to pour this. And sorry about my hand in the bag there, guys, but you'll see, just like a cupcake. We cover that embed up completely. We want to make sure to get a really good dollop of frosting on top of each one. And I really, really wish we could make smell-o-vision, guys, because if you could smell this while we're making it, like the rose and the hint of like cinnamon and chocolate fudge is just spectacular. And now it's time to go ahead and get those little embeds into the frosting before it sets up. This is really delicate. You don't want to break anything. We don't want to smush the frosting too much. Trying to find the perfect place. And we also have to contend with the embed that's already in there. So we got to miss that. But there we go. Now we've got our skulls in our frosting. And now it's time for sprinkles, because everybody loves sprinkles, right? And again, these are just made of sugar. They won't hurt you. They will melt in your bath water. They will go right down your drain. There is polysorbate 80 in the bath bombs, and that helps you to be able to clean up after your bath bomb. So everything will just need a nice rinse. At the most, maybe a wipe with a wet rag. Nothing will stain. We've got little black pearl jimmies there on the top of each forbidden cupcake. And then we are going to apply purple and white and blue and silver jimmies, and there are some silver stars in there. And just sort of very carefully pour those over the frosting, and then you kind of have to smush it. It's not really sticky or anything. You kind of have to smush it in. And sort of cover the areas manually, as you can see. And try to fill in, areas where there's little gaps. I don't want to go too heavy with the sprinkles, but I definitely want, that fun little aspect of the decoration to be there, because I think it really puts them over the top in terms of looking like a cupcake. A few more sprinkles here and there. And again, very gently pushing those in while also trying not to mess up sort of the shape of the frosting there. The last one, ooh, we got a big wad of sprinkles on there and a big old star. Just making sure we've got really good coverage on the frosting of those bath bombs there. Kind of 360-degree sprinkle coverage. Don't want to skimp on something that we call the forbidden cupcake. And now our final step is to really, really push the whole thing over the top. We're going to spray them with silver eco glitter so that they are sparkly little divas on all sides. And this really makes the skull embeds really, really pop. As you can see, they get so shiny and sprinkly. The eco glitter really sticks on them very well, and I just love that final effect on those.